Hello humans, Minski here. To brand something is to market, to distinguish it, and to make it recognizable. Humans brand the things they love: nations, sports teams, and fizzy drinks. Humans also brand the things they own: cattle, sheep, and their own bodies. To me, it seems that a brand is like a piece of mental real estate that drives humans to think and act in a certain way. Perhaps the most powerful form of branding is the one that represents an idea. Ideas change the world, and so too do brands. Having worked at some of the most influential brands today, Deirdre King is uniquely positioned to provide some insights into what brands should be focusing on right now.
I'm Deirdre King and currently the Managing Director of Jacaranda FM. I've been really lucky enough to work with great brands like the Walt Disney Company. I was the head of marketing and communications for Africa for Disney for a number of years. And then following that, I joined Nandos South Africa, which is, I think, one of the greatest South African brands, as the head of brand experience and crisis communications. I worked there for 4 years where when Jacaranda FM came across and asked whether I would like to join them as their MD, which happened in this wonderful time of COVID. So yes, starting a new job in lockdown has been a very interesting journey, to say the least.
What have you learnt about marketing from working at these brands?
So I think Disney, Nandos, and now currently Jacaranda FM is really about the art of storytelling. Marketers need to be great storytellers and know how to take people on a journey. Storytelling doesn't have to be once upon a time type of storytelling. Storytelling is in everything we do. It's just how do we tell it in a relevant way that our audiences want to hear it. I think the lessons that one learns from great brands such as these is that authenticity is key. Audiences can sense when you're not being real or true to yourself, so you have to keep it real. I think more recently, probably over the last couple of years, brands with purpose are becoming increasingly important, as this is what customers and fans are demanding more and more from big brands, because they want to know what you're doing outside of your balance sheet. So I think purpose is becoming increasingly important.
What are the key things that marketers should be focusing on?
So I think what we need to focus on is educating with your content. I think you need to provide value to your audiences by providing them with relevant data. Generally speaking, brands should create content that is relative, authoritative, and of course educates your audience. Then I think you need to let data drive your creative. So with the shifts that we're also seeing that creative is emerging as a strong and a serious performance driver. So it needs to carry equal weight to other key drivers like placement selection and audience targeting. I think what's really key, particularly at the time that we find ourselves in at the moment, is connecting an online and an offline strategy. They can't sit in isolation of each other. You've got to create a consistent customer experience online and off, which is a really important aspect to my mind.
What are your top practical tips that marketers can use right away?
I think some key little tricks that I've also learned during this time is actually to keep your content updated. So Myron, I think we're finding that a lot of content isn't necessarily being updated, and here's the opportunity to spend some time on updating your content. And you don't necessarily need to be writing new content or producing new content. You mustn't forget the content that you've already published. By updating it and refreshing older content that's previously ranked well, I think is a great tip. You might find that just making simple updates and tweaks, and most importantly, what you actually could just do is change the date of the article to represent that it's a new, sort of renewed version of it, and that will have a positive effect on rankings. I mean, it's no secret that Google prefers refreshed content, so that for me is an easy win. I think, again, I'm going to talk about authenticity. We need to be prioritizing authenticity. This is one of the most important marketing tips that I think I can give you. Consumers today are well aware that content businesses is agenda-driven. They're not likely to respond positively to a salesy type content. So brands need to develop better strategies to build authentic relationships with their audiences. One of the best ways I think one can prioritize authenticity with your marketing is by creating live content. I think now's the time to host a live podcast, stream your Facebook live videos, make mistakes as you go. Just go with the flow. I think you'll be surprised at how positively your audience will actually respond to that, because that in itself is an element of authenticity. And then I think lastly, especially now, don't forget to invest in research. I think it helps to understand your customer, what their needs are. It helps to understand your competitors. It provides much needed insights as to where you might need to adjust your strategy or the content. You could even find that you need to develop new products. I think this lockdown period has shown us that we should be pivoting, and you need to pivot quickly. So I think research and taking the time to do some research will help with that as well. People are creating more and more data points than ever before while we're social distancing. I think AI can predict trends and patterns in advertising creative, as well as what will engage with your specific audience on social media. And I think lastly, we need to look at our existing creative, see what has performed well, that overlaps with what your audience is being drawn to. Freshen up that creative with a new timely hook. I think those would be my top, feels like 100, but my top kind of tips for a market at the moment.
With the instability of the market, many companies have cut back on their expenses. Should companies be cutting their marketing spend?
I don't think we should. I think the companies that will bounce back won't have cut marketing spend. Brands need to remain relevant to their fans. The content of advertising should be reflecting the challenges that your consumers are encountering. They want to see that brands are showing solidarity. Successful brand advertising or marketing at a time like this should also be injecting a bit of humor and emotion, but also answer the questions that consumers have, which is, how can we help you? I think in this environment, you need to be accompanying your customers on their new, different journey, shift your message, even re-engineer your value proposition. This is not a time to stop spending money. It's a time to change how you spend.
In a way, it feels like there is a land grab happening right now. Brands, big or small, have the opportunity to gain or lose it all through the mental real estate they occupy. Using storytelling, authenticity, and purpose could give brands the upper hand when trying to outbid their competitors. Thanks for your attention, as I learn to stop worrying and love the pandemic.